Have you ever wondered about the final moments of Moses, the great leader who led the Israelites out of Egypt? The Bible tells us he died on Mount Nebo and was buried by God himself in a valley in the land of Moab, but his tomb was never found. Deuteronomy 30:4-6 says, "No one knows the place of his burial to this day." This single verse has sparked centuries of mystery, speculation, and fascinating stories. Why was Moses' burial site kept a secret? What really happened on that mountain? Today, we're diving deep into the untold stories, the ancient traditions, and the theological puzzles surrounding one of the Bible's greatest enigmas, the burial of Moses. Let's start with what the Bible explicitly states. In the final chapter of Deuteronomy, Moses, at 120 years old, climbs Mount Nebo. God shows him the promised land, the land he longed to enter but was forbidden from. God tells him, "I have let you see it with your eyes, but you shall not cross over there." And so, Moses, the servant of the Lord, dies. The text is clear: God buried him. This is an incredible statement. The burial of a prophet by God himself is a unique and profound honor, unmatched by any other figure in the Old Testament. The Israelites mourned him for 30 days, recognizing the immense loss of their leader. But the mystery remains: why the secrecy? Why would God personally bury Moses and then hide the location forever? This question has fascinated theologians and scholars for millennia. One of the most popular and ancient explanations comes from a concern over idolatry. Moses was a figure of immense authority and reverence. He spoke with God face to face, received the Ten Commandments, and performed incredible miracles. If his tomb were known, it could have easily become a shrine, a place of worship. The Israelites, who had a history of straying into idol worship, remember the golden calf, might have been tempted to venerate the tomb, or even the remains of Moses, instead of worshiping God alone. By hiding the tomb, God ensured that the focus of Israel's faith remained on the invisible, living God, not on a physical location or a deceased prophet. It was a powerful lesson in keeping worship pure and directed only toward the Creator. This idea is supported by extra-biblical texts. The ancient Jewish historian Josephus, in his Antiquities of the Jews, wrote about this very issue. He suggested that the tomb was hidden to prevent people from deifying Moses. He argued that if people knew where Moses was buried, they might believe he had ascended to heaven like a god, rather than died a mortal death. This was a way of preserving the humanity of Moses, reminding everyone that even the greatest prophets are still human servants of God. Now, let's venture into some even more dramatic and lesser-known traditions. The New Testament itself gives us a tantalizing clue in the short book of Jude. Verse 9 mentions a dispute between Michael the archangel and the devil over the body of Moses. It says, "But when the archangel Michael, contending with the devil, was disputing about the body of Moses, he did not presume to pronounce a blasphemous judgment, but said, 'The Lord rebuke you.'" This single verse opens up a whole new dimension to the story. What were they fighting about? The Bible doesn't elaborate, leaving us to look at other ancient texts for possible answers. One such text is a Jewish apocryphal work called the Assumption of Moses, also known as the Testament of Moses. Although parts of this text are lost, early Christian writers like Clement of Alexandria and Origen referenced it, and they believed it was the source for Jude's account. According to their interpretation of the story, when Moses died, God sent the archangel Michael to bury him. However, the devil appeared and laid claim to the body. His argument was cynical and legalistic. He claimed that since he was the Lord of all matter, the body of Moses belonged to him. Furthermore, he accused Moses of being a murderer, referencing the time Moses killed an Egyptian taskmaster. He argued that a murderer had no right to an honorable burial by God's angels. This sets up a cosmic courtroom drama. The devil, the great accuser, is trying to use Moses' past sins to dishonor him in death. But Michael the archangel doesn't engage in a debate with him. He doesn't try to defend Moses or argue points of law. Instead, he simply defers to a higher authority, saying, "The Lord rebuke you." This response is incredibly significant. It shows that judgment and condemnation belong to God alone. Michael understands that even the devil is subject to God's ultimate power. By rebuking Satan in the Lord's name, Michael asserts God's sovereignty over life, death, and even the physical remains of his servants. The devil's claim is dismissed, and Moses' body is given the burial God intended. This story adds a powerful theological layer to the secret burial. It suggests that the hiding of the tomb wasn't just about preventing idolatry, but was also the final act in a spiritual battle over Moses' legacy. By personally intervening and having his archangel secure the body, God was making a definitive statement. Moses was his servant, and his end would be one of honor and peace, free from the accusations of the enemy. The hidden tomb becomes a symbol of God's protection and ultimate victory over the forces that seek to accuse and condemn. So, where does this leave us? We have the biblical account, which is straightforward but mysterious. We have the logical explanation of preventing idolatry, which makes perfect sense given the context of Israel's history. And we have the dramatic, extra-biblical story of a spiritual battle between an archangel and the devil. Which one is true? Perhaps they all contain a piece of the truth. It's very possible that God had multiple reasons for his actions. The prevention of idolatry was likely a primary concern, a practical way of guiding his people. But the spiritual dimension, the idea that God was protecting his prophet's final rest from the accuser, adds a depth and richness to the story that is truly profound. Let's also consider the emotional impact on the people of Israel. For 40 years, Moses had been their guide, their intercessor, their leader. His presence was a constant. His death marked the end of an era. The secret of his tomb might have also served another purpose, to force the people to move forward. With no grave to visit, no monument to cling to, they had to put their trust in their new leader, Joshua. And more importantly, in the God who had always been leading them. The journey wasn't about Moses, it was about God's promise. The focus had to shift from the messenger to the source of the message. The hidden tomb was a clean break, a signal that it was time for the next chapter in Israel's story. Think about the landscape itself. Mount Nebo, in modern-day Jordan, offers a breathtaking panoramic view. From its summit, you can see the Dead Sea, the Jordan River Valley, Jericho, and on a clear day, even the hills of Jerusalem. It's a place where you feel like you're standing on the edge of history. Moses stood there, his life's work complete, looking out at the future of his people. His death wasn't a tragedy in the typical sense, it was a transition. He died at the mouth of the Lord, a Hebrew phrase that some rabbis have interpreted to mean he died by a divine kiss, a peaceful and intimate passing. His burial, carried out by God, was the ultimate act of loving care for a faithful servant. The secrecy of the tomb, therefore, isn't a sign of neglect, but of sacred intimacy. It's a secret kept between God and his beloved prophet. In the end, the story of Moses' burial is a powerful reminder of several key themes. It highlights the danger of idolatry and the importance of worshiping God alone. It speaks to the reality of spiritual warfare and God's ultimate authority over all things. And it underscores the necessity of faith, of moving forward and trusting in God's plan even when familiar leaders are gone. The empty space where a tomb should be speaks louder than any monument could. It tells us that a person's legacy isn't found in a physical grave, but in the impact they had on the lives of others and in their relationship with God. Moses' work was done, his mission accomplished. The secret of his tomb is a final, silent testament to a life lived in extraordinary service to God. It invites us not to search for a physical location, but to reflect on the spiritual truths his life represents. What do you think is the most compelling reason for the secrecy of Moses' burial? Was it to prevent idolatry, a result of a cosmic battle, or something else entirely? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It is a fascinating topic that shows how even the things the Bible doesn't say can lead us into a deeper understanding of faith. Thanks for joining me on this journey into one of history's greatest mysteries. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. See you next time.